Kia ora, you've tuned into 96.4 ZM. Hi, I'm Adele, and today we are going to be discussing an issue that we've had identified in our local community. This issue is we need to grow cultural, linguistic capability in our students, staff, and community. I have two callers alongside me today to discuss why this is a problem, why we need to do something about it, and what they plan to do as change agents. First in is Shelley. Shelley, tell me, how do you know this is a problem?
Kia ora Adele, I'm Shelley and I teach at Dunstan High School. We're aware this is not happening in many of our Central Otago schools. We've identified little to no evidence of bilingual signage, and there is little evidence in classrooms that this is being taught.
Our second caller is Anna. Hi Anna, what's happening at your place?
Hi Adele, I'm Anna and I teach at Alex Primary. We've also identified cultural and linguistic capability as a current issue after a recent experience down at Te Aroha Marae in Bluff. It was obvious students, staff and our parent community lacked the understanding around protocol on a marae and during a pōwhiri. We did not have the cultural competency to prepare ourselves, our learners and our parent community for what to expect or how to be culturally sensitive while staying on a marae.
As you're both local educators, you'll both be aware of what the New Zealand curriculum, page 9, states. The curriculum acknowledges the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi and the bicultural foundations of Aotearoa New Zealand. All students have the opportunity to acquire knowledge of Te Reo Māori. So why do you believe this isn't happening in your schools?
We have found there are three barriers, being our community, staff and students. Community is defined as being our teachers, our whānau, students and expertise. The sense of unknown and acceptance among wider community members. We feel the whānau in our community generally feel intimidated coming into our educational settings, whether this is from their own experiences of education or the assumption they are culturally connected and identify as Māori.
So our second barrier we've identified is our staff capability. Their lack of confidence in pronouncing the language and understanding of cultural competencies. At the moment, Te Reo Māori is not always being incorporated or woven into our learning spaces. We're not always seeing it or hearing it. Again, there is often a sense of uncertainty and feeling embarrassed about being culturally disrespectful or insensitive. In order to be in a position where we as staff can be culturally responsive, we first need to look at and change our mindsets about the value of celebrating cultural diversity and the importance of that in a 21st century classroom. We recognise that first we need to break down the barriers for educators who are comfortable with status quo, choosing to interact within the confines of what is familiar.
Thanks, Shelley. What I can hear from what you're telling us is that we're possibly missing a 21st century skill. Do you have any thoughts on what skill is missing?
Knowledge construction. What is it and how can we use it? Banks, An Introduction to Multicultural Education 2002 says, the knowledge construction process relates to the extent to which teachers help students to understand, investigate and determine how implicit cultural assumptions, frames of references, perspectives and biases within a discipline influence the ways in which knowledge is constructed within it. Basically, it's a collaborative process which aims to produce new understanding and or knowledge. It is also essential that the knowledge construction is based on each other's ideas and thoughts. Teachers become facilitators of learning and encourage independent thinking. Facilitators help students work towards to attain their own intellectual identity. Students develop questions and issues, then analyse and answer their questions and take ownership and responsibility of their learning, becoming problem solvers and lifelong learners. Facilitators need to give students time to reflect on the questions and take time to listen and process other thoughts and views on the issues. We need to encourage higher level thinking. The facilitator challenges students to reach beyond the simple factual response, encouraging students to connect with each other, the global community, and summarise concepts by analysing, predicting, justifying, and defending their ideas, giving the students a sense of ownership over what they've just learnt. Students are also engaged in dialogue with each other and their peers, and are engaged in their experiences that challenge their views and encourages an in-depth discussion looking at real-world possibilities using raw data, physical and interactive materials, and conversing with others in a collaborative manner in order to reach the best possible outcome. Students and individuals then make choices about what new ideas to accept and how to fit them into their established views of the world.
Finally, our third barrier is our learners, which obviously are the most important. Some students' perception has been a barrier. Transition from primary to secondary sees a decline in willingness and attitude to particular things such as kapa haka, as it is new and not necessarily the social norm. It's not popular. Students lack confidence in the language and understanding of the cultural competencies. In order to ensure that our students feel safe, welcome and accepted and inspired to succeed in a culture of high expectations for learning, our school and classrooms must be responsive to culture. We are aware that in our particular schools and our wider community, there needs to be a shift in becoming more culturally inclusive.
Well, you've clearly set the scene, Anna and Shelley, and critically reflected on your own practice. What we need to just be reminded again, what is the issue? The issue being that you need to become more culturally responsive across all stakeholders, students, teachers and community. One which I'm well aware that many of our listeners can relate to. Can you describe further a 21st century skill that you feel will enable your learners and community to be change agents?
Yes, another 21st century skill is ICT for learning. We're living in a constantly evolving digital world. ICT has an impact on nearly every aspect of our lives, from working to socialising, learning to playing. The digital age has transformed the way young people communicate, network, seek help, access information and learn. We must recognise that young people are now an online population and access is through a variety of means such as computers, TV and mobile phones. Adele, it'd be interesting to get your take on this. What 21st century skills can you see taking part in our innovation?
Collaboration, the number one. 21st century learning Microsoft partners in learning state. In traditional schooling in most countries, students do their work and receive their own grades. This model does not prepare them well for the workplace where they are likely to work on teams with others to accomplish tasks that are too complex for individuals to do on their own. In today's interconnected world of business, real project work often requires collaboration across countries and companies or with people in different parts of the world. This type of work requires strong collaboration skills to work productively on a team and to integrate individual expertise and ideas into a coherent situation. Wow, so listeners, you've heard from Shelley and Anna and myself, and we've all reflected on what is obviously a major challenge in our practice. It was also clear that you've identified the 3 21st century skills that are going to enable your students to be change agents. So, the next stage is to talk to me about how you're going to make this real and authentic. What is your digital and collaborative innovation that can address your challenge?
Well, our digital and collaborative innovation will begin by building the knowledge of students and teachers. To do this, we'll explore and begin to understand our own culture and build a picture of who we are, where we are from, and what makes our individual story special. We'll utilise experts such as graphic designers, carvers, sculptors, and online workshops through Christchurch Art Gallery to create our own tukutuku panels through various art forms to represent key aspects of who we are. Through Google Tour Builder, everyone will create a virtual mihi tour that enables an audience to travel to locations such as where we were born, where our family whānau hails from, and locations or landmarks that tell our own stories. Our first exploration of Te Reo will be through translating some basic terms and locations on each tour in order to construct knowledge. The focus will then shift to pronunciation and understanding of Te Reo in order to say our own mihi orally. Having these somewhere prominent in our school setting will allow anyone with a device access to meeting and getting to know our students.
So what would this look like? All students would have a mobile or a smart device. They could hold the device over a tukutuku panel and using the QR code see the virtual mihi tours. They can also use Arisma to see the students' oral mihis constructed by our students. From here will begin the collaborative stage of the task. Our primary students and teachers will begin having Google Hangouts with specialist Te Reo Māori classes for tutorials with big buddies at Dunstan High School. This would begin to grow a relationship between students coming through to high school and offering an opportunity for leadership and mentoring in order for students to create their own lessons to share with our school whānau and community. Utilising both Dunstan High School and Alex Primary websites and our digital newsletters as our avenues to do this, our learners, facilitators would be working together to create an informative and engaging language tutorial to connect with our wider audience.
Going further, our vision is to produce an app. Having constructed our knowledge of basic te reo through a collaborative learning approach, we are now ready to launch the final stage of connecting with a global community through designing an app for te reo language acquisition. We intend on creating an app similar to geocaching using te reo clues which are to be collected around our Central Otago community, using ICT experts and community support to help create, launch and promote this app for learning we see as a huge collaborative initiative, which in time would continue the ripple effect of te reo language acquisition, constructing a global community's knowledge. Obviously, ICT for learning is a skill focus throughout the stages of our learning innovation.
We see an effective constructivist learning environment where contributions are made and learning is experienced by all, inviting active learning rather than passivity, and the construction of knowledge rather than the transmission of it. Constructivist approach to the nets for teachers by Morphew BN.
Sounds exciting and engaging, guys. So this innovation itself will have the following pedagogical outcomes. The innovation will have the impact on A, developing a learning culture which will have evidence of growth mindsets and understanding how to learn te reo Māori. Number 2, we will see and hear your community being culturally responsive in a collaborative way. Number 3, an authentic te reo Māori program will be woven through all areas of the curriculum. Lane Clark, recent visit to ULearn as a well-known educational theorist, supports this by stating, "We need to teach our children how to think and how to learn. We must create intellectual rigour, depth of knowledge and understanding, as well as authentic, relevant and purposeful curriculum and instruction must be our priorities. We've got to change the way learning opportunities are planned, designed, implemented, assessed and evaluated."
Ka mate te kāinga tahi, ka ora te kāinga rua.
There is more than one way to achieve an objective.
Please see our references we have cited throughout our presentation.